what makes athletes or people on the higher stage have this mentality where it's just so resilient that they don't have time to be, I guess, depressed. Or, I mean, he spoke about coming from small town New Zealand and just being humbled to be on the big stage and playing at the best golf courses in the world. And it's like he had a 2% success rate, 98% loss rate. Compared
Yeah.
to Tiger Woods, who had 26%, Jack Nicklaus
Which is
26%,
insane.
which yeah. And
I've heard
I mean,
Roger Federer talk about that as well in terms of the amount of points that he's won in his career. It's less
yes,
than
I recall
50%
that.
or whatever. Yes, same type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess looking today around, maybe not so much the stigma side of mental health and depression, anxiety, and PTSD and all that stuff, but let's focus more on mental health and everything around that I guess encapsulates these athletes to just perform and put it to the side and go to the next golf event tomorrow and not shoot an 80, which for us is the best thing in the world. For them, it's not
Of
great.
course. Yeah. Yeah. It's all
So, what are
contextual,
your
right?
thoughts there, man? Yeah, yep,
Yeah, mate. Like I think we dive in and we can let the conversation go. As
yeah,
I said, like there's plenty to it, and so I think we can chat through it and we'll find some stuff that lands for some people and go from there.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So, so I mean, like, what do you think actually puts people in this position where they have that mindset? Like,
Yeah, well, I suppose first of all, I would say beware, and on the bigger point, beware the danger of comparison, because let's say we'll use golf, but we could use anything, right? As an example,
yep,
if I'm looking at a Michael Campbell, which of course I do every day, and and I wasn't planning that.
I
And
wish you were on that call,
and I
mate.
because this is the thing, we live in such a fucking age of comparison. It's so easy to compare, and the challenge with comparison is what it tends to tell me is, oh, I'm not happy with my own life, and so I want to be that, and so it's very hard to be here when I'm always forecasting. That could be anything. I work with a lot of guys, and when they first come to me, they might spend a lot of their time planning for the future, and if all you do is plan for the future, you never hear. Right, and
Yep,
the same can
yep,
be said when you're down facing a ball, at the tee box. It's like if I'm already thinking about I need to be swinging it like that, whatever, like the comparison of I
yep,
need to be performing like one of the dudes who stepped up to the Masters after a shitty day, and
yeah,
Scotty Scheffler getting arrested, turning up, then shooting whatever he shot that day. Like that's the aim with comparison is to take inspiration. What can I take from this for
yeah,
me? So if I'm looking at athletes and going, I need to have that type of mentality. I need to be able to bounce back from the shit that's going on in my life and, perform amazingly. Okay, well,
yeah,
is it helping you, that thought process, or hindering you? And
yeah,
so the invitation, broadly speaking, is what can I take from that to apply to myself?
yeah,
Now, I think depending on the athlete, let's say, because, you talk about athletes who can have a shitty day, shitty hole, a shitty shot, and then I've got to
yeah,
scrap that and get on with the next one. That is crucial in so many sports, especially in something like golf, tennis, a crap shot, a crap point, and then get on for the next
yeah,
one. And we're getting into some big kind of sports psychology realm there. But we all have these moments in our life where I have a shitty interaction with that person, or I didn't back myself, or I silenced myself, or I said something I didn't really want to say. Okay, well now I've got a different. The next meeting's happening. Do I bring that with me? Like, how do I? And so it's a different version of a similar thing, right? For whatever your realm is. Having said that, not every athlete is great at, let's call it the mental game. You know,
yeah. I think,
as an invitation for people, I would invite you to find documentaries on sports teams, and there's a reasonably good series I think that portrays this, which is I think it's the All or Nothing series that was on Amazon Prime. So there's one
yeah,
about the All Blacks, which was the first time the All Blacks had kind of been really explored in depth because it was done by an American company. There's some NFL teams, and there is EPL teams, right? Some English football teams. And for me, I was consistently astounded that when you're dealing with these sports players and teams that are worth billions of dollars, right? So there is so much on the line. There is not only not a lack of resources, it's just ludicrously abundant. And yet, it's essentially the manager trying to help these guys with their head game. I
Yeah.
watch it and I'm like, where is the person who can help these highly skilled athletes with their mental skills to do exactly what you're talking about? And so, what I can kind of see from that is, unless it's more of an individual sport where someone's like, I need the help with the mental game, because in your head it's very mental in an individual sport. It's just a bit of luck of the draw if this person has developed that or been mentored in a way or guided in a way to develop those. Because I don't think
Yeah.
everyone has it. You know, a lot of
Yeah.
people will
Yeah.
cave when it comes to the mental side of performance, be that with a golf club in your
Yeah.
hand or in a meeting or whatever.
Like, yeah, and I guess the perfect example is Rory McIlroy in the weekend over with the
Mm,
Masters. Um, the guy had a six-stroke lead, the highest in Masters history after 36
mm,
holes. His third round, he completely flopped. He shot overs, um, and he was tied for the lead on the final round. And it's like, how can you go from that to just 18 holes of really poor
mm,
play
mm-hmm.
to then come back on the final round the day after
Mm.
and win? Like, I guess it comes down to, I mean, it's it's more mental toughness than anything, isn't it? I think. And
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, even trying to find a term is not necessarily that clear because it's lots of different little things, right? It
yeah,
could just
yeah,
be, something where he, had a shitty shot in the first tee drive and it impacted him. It could be any number of things. It could be something at home, whatever. But part of that is being able to kind of compartmentalize, potentially, put something behind you and move into the next moment. But you can see it's not always happening
yeah,
because round three, not so good,
yeah,
right? But that also could
yeah,
be
yeah,
any number of things as well. It could be something physical in the actual skill set. Like, for some reason, my wrist is doing this today. Probably
yeah,
linked to something mental. But that's that element of like, can I take the present moment, or at least the
mm,
previous moment, and put it behind me and move forward, whatever that
yeah,
might be. Because you'll see it now
yeah,
in team sports, like a lot of the football codes, especially rugby and rugby league, where let's say a try has happened, something has been a big stop of the play, right? So there's an elevation internally of things like adrenaline, right? Of course. But when the ball gets kicked off again, you can't really be in that state. We need you heightened, but not all the way up. And so what you'll often see is the guys in a huddle and they'll take a big physiological sigh, a big breath to help down regulate them again so they can be calm. Broad, big picture vision. Because if I'm hyper focused, right, that
yeah,
elevates and it's a massive journey throughout a game like that. But I need to bring myself back down again. And that's kind of like, can I leave the previous moment behind me so I can be where I needed and what is needed from me in the next moment, which is part of that. And we'll have moments where we're
yeah,
doing okay at it, and moments where I have a reasonably poor in the for Rory in the scheme of the two previous rounds, a reasonably poor round. Of course, every
yeah,
shot's not going to be like that, or he wouldn't be there at all. But sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's harder. But that's the practice,
yeah.
and we can all do that depending on our arena. Let's call it.
Yeah, I'd love to know what he actually did after that round and what his process was. Is that process? I mean, like you said, there's elements that you can't control and risks or injuries, but if there's just a mental focus where he goes, I just need to switch off, like, and I'll give an example. Me last night, like I've had Bella for the last 5 days, solos parenting, it's like that one, and mate, I was burnt out last night. When we swapped over, tagged over parenting, and I just couldn't work. Like I knew I had stuff to do.
Mm,
I knew I had. I think I sent you a calendar invite very late last night. um, and but I knew I was not motivated. I wasn't.
mm-hmm,
I just wasn't in that state, and I knew I wasn't going to be productive or anything like that.
mm,
So I put my phone down and just went and lay down, woke up fresh. Um, and it's almost like like waking up and he's like, "Fuck, I actually feel so much better today. Like a really good night's sleep." And now I'm
totally.
back into it. And so I guess I mean, yes, we are talking about athletes and sports and whatnot, but I guess at the same time, that can trigger back to, I guess, what is that process when you're in that state of mind, and how can you get through it, and what
Yeah.
are some of the things that you can potentially do that are probably mentally driven as opposed to
Well,
physiologically.
okay. So what I would say is the two are always inextricably linked, right? And the challenge, if we talk for men, very broadly, of course this happens. We run, and it can happen obviously in different ways for athletes. But it's very easy for men to stay in the head. And that's where we might get stuck. Oh, it's the mental game. He can't get his head right, whatever it is. It's like, well, that's probably, I'm
Yeah.
speaking super broadly here, because he's too fucking in his head. And part of the
Yep.
challenge where we get into overthinking, right? I think we might have been talking about this previously. Thinking is useful, being lost in thought. Overthinking, rumination
Yeah.
is not. Part of the challenge here is how do you know when, right? Because that mode tends to justify more of itself. It's like, feed me, feed me. No, I just need to think my way out of this. But if thinking got you into it, it's
Yep.
probably not going to get you out. So what we need to do is get out of your head and into your body. It's kind of the extension of that. And we talk about that physiological sigh. The breath is a beautiful way to do that. And there's many ways that we can explore it. But the idea is, it's chaos up here. What I need is clarity. So I actually just
Yeah.
need to get out of it for a moment. So
Yeah.
as I said, the breath is
Yeah.
a really, really simple tool to get out of the head, into the body. If you think about into the body, grounding, like whatever that might physically look like, but even the
Mm.
language kind of invites us there.
Yeah.
Okay, now, again, as I said before, like broadening my vision. Okay, now I can see more clearly. I can see a big picture. Now I can make better decisions and then focus in again, whatever that might be.
Yeah.
So the breath is a really good way to do that. Simple breathing. There's many different kind of breath work exercises and stuff you can do. But a simple one, I kind of already mentioned it, so I'll speak to that, the physiological sigh, is taking a full breath in through the nose, expanding as much as you physically can to the point where it feels like you can't get any more stop, and then try and force another little extra bit in. And what you're going to see is that it forces the diaphragm to get active. That's what we're trying to do. And then hold for a short beat, and then you're going to let it like actually sigh out. Think about what comes to mind with sigh. There's a letting go, there's a release of tension.
Yeah.
And even in the doing of that, it's already got you focused on that thing, which is in your body.
Yeah.
So 1 to 2
Yeah.
physiological sighs, a really simple, quick movement in that. If you think you're walking, obviously, in a golf course, you can do versions of that from one shot to the next when you get up there. But another simple way is just a nice slow breath in through your nose, and then an exhale out through the mouth where you elongate the exhale. Again, more on the exhale, because the exhale is usually when we
Yeah.
let go of the tension, even though in the next moment, depending on our context, I might need that tension. But I need to be grounded first, so then I can go. And so it's kind of that slowing down to speed up, stopping to aim better. And that's really that, like, shifting from an upregulated, which might be the tension, the stress, right? Think about I'm gripping the club too tight. Or a great example for some people might see is when you see the slow-mo of a sprinter from front on. So the camera is at the end of the track, and they're like, their mouth and shit is like wobbling around. And it's such an indication because even though that person is running ludicrously fast, they need to be relaxed.
Yeah.
It almost feels like an oxymoron, doesn't work. But they have to be relaxed. And it's a similar thing. You can't be strangling the club or, the meeting or the phone call or whatever it is. We need to have an element of grounded. And that's that little difference there. If I'm up in my head,
Yeah.
if I'm
Yeah.
tense, okay, hold on, I need to reset. And that's kind of that, potential compartmentalizing of, that was a shitty shot, or I got a crap ruling, or whatever it is. Oh, okay, well, I
Yeah.
have to put that aside.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, just to quickly round that out, for us in life or in sport, sometimes that might mean there's still shit there. I need to get on with this part, but there's still shit there. And men are often good at compartmentalizing. I'm just going to put that aside. And what we can be poor at is revisiting it and dealing with it, because otherwise we just keep dragging it around. And dragging it around and dragging it around and dragging it around. And then we're just fucking weighed down by all the shit that we haven't dealt with. So that is a, perhaps revisit it later type of thing.
Yeah. What are your thoughts around, or I mean, is there any experience that you've had where, and I say this from, I guess, my own experiences personally with breathing, and I love breathing, and I've always gone through that.
Kryptonite.
Um, Yeah, not probably not so much now, and even just doing what you've just shared now and just going through them. And okay, actually, yeah, that's just pulled me back in line a little bit. I am having a double shot of coffee as well, which doesn't help. Um, but and I guess I can talk about I guess even with my daughter and us doing some breathing work sometimes
Mm-hmm.
when she's a little bit hyped up and there's the thought of the overthinking of your breathing, which then causes anxiety. I'm not sure if you've experienced that or gone through that, and it actually, I mean, for me, I know if I do it for a longer period of time, it's going to go away. But
Mm-hmm.
this little anxiety kind of kicks in, and then and then I'm focused on my breathing, and then I'm a little bit anxious, and I'm stressing about that.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get out of that if
Yeah,
you have
great. I mean,
anything?
again, nuance, but I'll throw a big sledgehammer in there to start with, which is like keep going. Because what is
Yeah,
anxiety? If we think about it, we don't need a
yeah.
clinical definition, but how would you describe anxiety? What is it?
I think I mean from my experience, it used to be the fear of the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
That was almost it. Now, I mean, for me, it kind of comes and goes, and it comes and goes at usually when I'm at I don't know my body's completely worn out, my mind is drained.
Mm-hmm.
There is still so many things to do,
Mm-hmm.
and again, that's I guess the future and the fear of the
Mm-hmm.
unknown is
Mm-hmm.
that okay, I've got all this work to do, I've got to respond to these people, but I don't have the energy to do it, I don't have the mental capacity to do it,
Mm-hmm. Possibly the
and
key factor in those moments as well.
hundred
Mm-hmm.
percent, yeah, 100%. So. Like I guess I mean that's a good strategy to just keep going and doing it and getting on with it. But then I guess also coming to what's your view on? I know let's go exercise.
Yep.
And similar sort of concept, but I mean just getting on with it. If you know you're not going to go and have a good gym session, do you still go?
Hmm. I mean, look, welcome to one of the more common answers I'll give in my work, which is it depends. It depends on a lot of the context. But I suppose, okay. So first of all, let's maybe explore that anxiety piece in the breath, because anxiety is kind of as you described. It's this unknown that's outside of my control. It's future think, and so it's think. It's all up in my head. What the anxiety is actually really fucking asking you to do is sit down and get in touch with what the feeling and sensation is in your body.
Yeah,
That feels uncomfortable, so we race to our head and try and outthink a feeling, right? So let's just outthink a. You can't outthink a feeling; it's a feeling, right? It's not thinking. So, to your point, and so I said, kind of like just fucking push through it a little bit, which is, oh, I've gone into my head again, so I actually need to get back into the breath and tune into what is this sensation in my body. And it will probably be uncomfortable and it might have all those uncomfortable thoughts, but okay, get back to the feeling, because part of the invitation there is to become okay, become competent in, oh, here's an uncomfortable feeling, sit with it. Potentially, what's it telling me? Because it's probably telling me something. I'm worried about work, for
yeah,
example. Like there's some, okay, cool, what can I do about it? We can have that conversation, but it's still back to, you have to get through that uncomfortable feeling and then you get to the other side. So the breath, stick with it. Of course, it might be some other forms, but that's that piece. Um,
yeah,
Now, to the it depends. It also might play out there. Like sometimes maybe you got to get up and do something else or take an action, of course. But all of that is inviting you back to the present moment, right? Oh, future think,
yeah,
present moment, present moment, present moment. And the end result of that might be what's the next best
yeah.
move. And
What?
in that piece, yeah, where you go.
No, go on.
So that is a question like, what's the next best thing I can do? It's a
Mm,
fairly simple
yeah,
question. Have that in your back pocket at all times, especially when we're
yeah,
overwhelmed. There's lots of things. And I'm gonna go if I can message all those people. It's like yesterday, clearly for you, what's the next best thing I can do is shut down and fucking sleep,
yeah,
right? And just as a quick nod to sleep, like yeah, all hail sleep. It is just such an undervalued tool for
yeah,
the human animal that we are. Um,
yeah,
So then when it comes to your question of like, okay, if you're not really feeling like you're going to have a great gym session, should you go and do it? Again, that's the broad context of like what are all the other details, right? Because I could easily say yes. Sorry, I accidentally muted myself. Um, commit to 5 minutes and see from there.
yeah,
But
yeah,
that also might be like, oh no, I have other priorities and responsibilities and commitments, like my daughter needs picking up or dinner. No, I said I'd go to the gym. Now's the moment, right? So obviously that's where all the context comes in. But if it's something
Yeah.
where, and I'll kind of bring it back to a baseline, for humans, definitely for men, one of the more important things that we can establish is making commitments that revolve around things that serve us, that embody self-respect, and then following through on those commitments. Like, we have to show ourselves and continue to build and engage in that dialogue of like, I set things for myself, I follow through on them, I can do hard things. You probably have that type of conversation with your daughter, and that's really important. And so one day that might be sitting with some uncomfortable, anxious feelings and actually sitting with the feelings, not
Mm.
trying to outthink them. Another, it might be, I really don't want to go to the gym. Okay, but it's a commitment that I made to myself. So whilst there might be some really great physiological benefits for me, the bigger benefit is I have to keep that consistency, because that is a big reflection of how I view myself, which is more meta
Yeah.
when we come to thinking about our state mentally and all that kind of stuff. But there's going to be moments where it's absolutely not
Yeah.
suitable. You know, like, oh no, I've got a bit of a flu. It's like, well then fucking have a rest. Jesus, man. Like, knowing that line can be
Yeah.
challenging for people, but it means I need to zoom out, which is what we're talking about in terms of the down regulation, getting out of that tension mode. The anxious mode will probably have me do something that's not necessarily going to serve me, so I can see more clearly.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think it's a really cool way to think. It's just um, I full hardly agree with you there. It's just having a backup as well, and yeah,
Yeah, and it might change. Let's say we'll use the gym as an example, right? It's like, oh, I'm feeling way too anxious in here today. It's super packed, or I can't get any of the things that I want. Right? We'll come back to, and this is maybe something that we can loop on the whole thing. What's the main idea here? It's probably to move your body. You might want to do that specific workout, and I need to squat today, whatever it is. It's like, what's the baseline commitment? And where we get into that anxious thinking and future thinking and all that is often that we become attached to an outcome in the future that we can't control.
yep,
And you can't control an outcome. All you can control is your process. And we've talked about this a little bit already. And so there's a simple line that I like to use, which is committed, not attached. So if I find myself in that, I can ask myself, what am I attached to here? Am I attached to an outcome? Like, am I attached to getting, hitting the fairway and, a birdie? Like, I can't control that. What can I control? My swing, my state, so I'm committed to
yeah,
getting centered. I'm committed, I'm committed to the process. And so with something like that, I need to have the best workout ever today. So, okay, well, that expectation might be the thing that royally fucks it. So what's the commitment? The broader commitment is possibly your health and fitness, is to keep consistency of movement, is to move your body today. Like, start there. If the day is one of those
yeah,
ones where you're like, I'm not really feeling it. Who knows? It might go
yeah,
towards the great workout. But come back to the baseline commitment. Just like if I've got to have a conversation with someone and I am in my head about it, and I am thinking worst case scenarios, that meeting, the sales conversation, the partner, it's like I can't control what they're going to do about it. All I can come back to
yeah,
is what am I committed to sharing? How I say it, what I do, how I do it. Okay. And it helps me put down all that anxious future think of like, well, the outcome that I can't control. And that's back to that process.
yeah, yeah. No, I love that. I know when I was like training and when I just really couldn't do anything, I'd still go there,
Yeah.
but then I'd probably just get off the treadmill pretty quickly and I'd down and go for a swim. And one thing I really enjoyed doing actually is just swimming underwater for as long as possible, which would be a form of breath work.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, and I'd come up and I'd be like, geez, I actually feel a bit better here.
Yeah, and
So
I
I'd do a
imagine
couple
that
of
you
those.
can't focus on much more, right? And that's one of the things about
You
certain
can't.
activities. It's like I've had
Yeah,
clients who ride motorbikes. Not for me, but like it's one of those avenues where you can't be in that argument with your partner or that meeting or whatever when you have to be present. And that's the thing for a lot of people. We might be on the course and there's all this other noise and shit going on. It's like, oh, how do I declutter all of that? And again, part of that is like,
yeah,
you can see my actions if you're watching. It's like, get out of my head, back into my body. Help me clarify, ground. And I imagine being under the water was also a beautiful piece of that. I'll extend that a point beyond a little bit, which is it depends, case by case, day by day. If you're not feeling
yeah,
that heavy squat workout or whatever, but you just need to move, then walk for 30 minutes if that's what it is today. Now,
Yeah.
if we zoom out and that becomes the pattern, okay, maybe we're going to look at some different factors and some more data. But
Yeah.
that element of having a bit of grace with yourself is something I've seen a lot of men particularly struggle with, because it can feel like if I do that, then I'm just taking the foot off the pedal and I don't give a shit and I'm kind of almost don't care. I don't think most guys who are very hard on themselves are at risk of that. But grace for yourself is so essential, because it's those things in moments where all of a sudden I'm ruminating on that shot 4 holes ago. How's that helping you right
Yeah.
now? Have some grace. You
Yeah.
did the thing. Okay, is there a lesson from it? Maybe, maybe not. But grace coupled with determination. All right, well, I want to do the best on the next shot. So what is that asking me?
Yeah. No, I love it. I think it's a good way to finish as well. I think the biggest thing I've kind of taken from this would be, how do I describe it? I don't know, just repetitive movement, repetitive mindset, and pushing forward in some way. Uh, and I think that I'm going to try that today, actually.
Nice. Yeah, and
Or
I think
tonight.
like sometimes the obstacle is the way, right? Like, okay, I don't
Yeah.
want to do the thing, I have to do the thing. But there's always a lot of nuance to that. Part of what I suppose what we've perhaps explored here is not is regulation. Haven't termed it that way, but often emotional regulation. Like I have to declutter all this stuff, and that's a skill. And I would ask the audience, anyone, especially guys, where and how did you learn that?